Okay, welcome everybody for our seventh and final in this series of district membership chair training sessions. It's great to see so many of you on the line, and great to see that so many of you followed the memo and wore some island wear. As you can see, I did not, although I ironed a nice shirt. I had it out. I had it in my hands this morning and somehow didn't bring it to work. And I realized that about 20 minutes ago. So I didn't follow my own memo, but it's glad to have all of you on the line today. This is a wrap-up session. I'm going to do a little bit of review of some of the key points that we've talked about over the last 6 weeks. But before we do that, we have a special guest today in the form of Alex Ritchie. Many of you know Alex as a Rotaractor extraordinaire from District 7600, but she's also an extraordinary Rotarian. She is both as a dual member, and most of you know her, so I won't give you the 10-minute intro that I could, but I will mention that she is, I think, the only person on this call who has chaired or co-chaired a Rotary International Committee and did so at the ripe young, well, I won't tell you how young she was because it just makes all of us feel further inadequate, but she has been the co-chair of the Rotary International Rotaract Interact Committee and continues to be a star in our zone, and I'm very happy to have her with us today to talk about the Elevate Rotaract and the Rotaract Rotary relationship. So Alex, I'm going to turn it over to you, and you do have share screen privileges, so you can take it away.
All right, perfect. Thank you, Patrick. I appreciate the intro. Good to see all of you. Well, good evening, everyone. It's great to be here with you all tonight. For those of you that I haven't had the privilege of getting to know just yet, as Patrick mentioned, my name is Alex Ritchie. So I am from Rotary District 7600, currently in Richmond, Virginia, but I truthfully haven't seen much of the city over the last few months thanks to COVID. So, I kind of forget what it looks like from day to day, but I am from Richmond, and I'm grateful to be a part of 7600. So Patrick was mentioning I am a dual member of both Rotaract and Rotary. So I joined Rotaract, oh gosh, I think it's almost 8 years ago, starting to get old a little bit there. And I joined Rotary as an active Rotarian about 4 years ago. So I'm a member of the Rotary Club of James River. For District 7600, I have a unique opportunity of working closely with incoming Governor Judy and of course our current district governor leadership to support Rotaract infrastructure to really allow the relationship between Rotaractors and Rotarians to blossom here in 7600. So that's been a really incredible experience. As Patrick mentioned a little bit, I did have the opportunity to also serve on the Rotaract and Interact Committee for Rotary International, which is a really incredible collaborative experience. And then specifically with Zone 33, which is what I'm here to share with you all about tonight, I have a really unique privilege of working directly with Patrick, Alex, and Nancy on ways in which we can make this Elevate Rotaract movement a reality in our zone and kind of bring it to life in Zone 33. So long story short, it's probably an understatement to say that Rotary has had a profound impact on my life. But the piece that I really want to share with you guys tonight, and the piece that I hope comes through, is that really without the mentorship and the development experiences that I had in Rotaract and the different Rotarians that believed in me and gave me an opportunity to contribute and hone my own skill set, made all the difference for me in being an effective Rotarian. So with that, we'll go ahead and jump in here. As you can see from my title, I'm going to talk a little bit about engaging a new audience during a time of transition. And spoiler alert, you might have been able to guess this audience is Rotaract. So we'll go ahead and jump in here. I wanted to give you guys just a couple of sort of guiding themes for our time together this evening. But my top goal is that this is relevant to you all in your districts as district membership chairs. So please feel free to stop me at any point if you have any questions or if something is not clear. So we're going to kind of break the evening up into 3 different parts. So part 1, we'll talk a little bit about some of the opportunities that we've been given as a result of the COVID-19 challenge, in addition to how we look beyond that to incorporate not only what we've learned going through this experience, but also how we can bring Rotaractors along in that story. So second, we'll get a little bit more into the specifics, as Patrick mentioned, of the Elevate Rotaract movement and how we can kind of bring that to life in our own districts and how those different decisions from the board of directors and the council and legislation present really unique opportunities for growth and service and also membership development in our districts. And then we'll close out kind of wrapping this all up together to talk about how the Rotary-Rotaract relationship has evolved from being sort of a sponsorship or a program dynamic to more of a partnership. So lots of fun ahead. We'll go ahead and get into it here. So to start, I just wanted to kind of frame things for you. So these themes here that you see in the blocks on the screen is kind of some guiding principles that I'd like you to keep in mind as we kind of go through our time together tonight. So I really encourage you to try your best to embrace these different ideas and then take them back to your district and implement them in a way that makes most sense for your clubs and for the Rotaractors that you do have. So the first point here up in the top left, it says now is the time to get creative. So we all know, being district membership chairs and district leaders, that there's a larger discussion going on in Rotary right now about needing different channels, right? We need to open more doors, create different avenues to engage different audiences in the journey that is Rotary. So we have a really unique opportunity within this, specifically with relation to Rotaract, to get creative in how we engage them and bring them along into this partnership. So that's point number one to keep in mind. The second point, if you come down directly below that square, says collaboration creates space for entrepreneurship and innovation. So I chose these two words, entrepreneurship and innovation, because if we take a moment to think back to the foundation of Rotary, way back, Rotary was initially started by business leaders, right? We all know that, looking to be creative, collaborative, and inventive in their approach to not only relationship building and network expansion, but also in community development projects, right? So I encourage us as Rotarians to really keep this in mind when we are developing our own strategy to sustain the membership in our district and also to grow Rotary, of course. And in order for us to do this, we should encourage ourselves and our districts and our individual clubs to seek out new ideas, different perspectives, and also opportunities to serve and give back in ways that we might not be used to. So that's the next point here. And then the third, if you come all the way over to the right there, is opportunity to better our new normal. So, you know, going through COVID-19, I think has presented obviously a significant challenge for the world around us and for Rotary. But I think also Rotary has seen significant growth, development, and progress as a result of our ability to adapt and continue to serve and remain relevant throughout this time. So within this new dynamic, I challenge you to keep in mind that every Rotarian and every Rotaractor have a place together in helping to establish this new normal going forward in which Rotary has a broader impact, more of a reach, and we're able to more effectively serve others together. So those are kind of the guiding principles of our time together tonight, and we'll kind of get into a couple of things here. So if you're thinking about your own district and the clubs that you work with and advise and lend your expertise to, how can you actually start to implement the mindset that we just walked through? So these are three of my biggest high-level approaches that I wanted to share with you guys. The first one at the top here is about keeping relationship building at the center. So again, if we go back to the early days, right, with Paul Harris, the foundation that Rotary was built is based on friendship, right, and authentically getting to know the men, women, and partners and organizations that we're working with. In order for us to do this effectively, we have to change our dynamic a little bit, especially with relation to our Rotaractors, our new partners in service. You need to start asking questions like, what motivates you? What inspires you? What are you looking to get out of this experience in Rotary? And how can our clubs work together as collaborative partners to help make that vision a reality? So that's point number one. The second point, meeting together is critical, whether it's virtually or in person, hopefully someday soon. So I'm sure that many of you know that, but one of the things that I would challenge you to incorporate with your next online meeting is a Rotaract audience, whether it be from a club in your district, maybe a club in a neighboring district, or a club that your Rotary team works with specifically. When we sit at the same table and we give ourselves the opportunity to dialogue on an equal playing field, we open these sustainable channels of communication that are both intentional and allow us to communicate more openly and in a way that is going to allow for progress and collaborative service together. So that leads us into the third point here. So refocusing and rethinking service in a way that is a bit more collaborative with our Rotaract partners. So during your next online meeting or online district gathering, happy hour, whatever you have coming up, I encourage you to include a Rotaract audience. The next time you're talking specifically about the needs facing your community, whether it be due to COVID-19, other challenges, or just anything in general, any need that you're looking to fill as a Rotarian, I encourage you to think about the talents and the networks and the different resources that a Rotaract audience could bring to the table as a partner in that project. All right, so now let's dive into some specific opportunities that we have right now to engage Rotaract. In order for us to do that, there are kind of two big questions here. So why Rotaract and why right now? So we'll go ahead and start with the first one in the top left here, why Rotaract. So many of you are familiar, and if you're not, we will walk through the specific decisions related to the Elevate Rotaract movement on the next slide. But just from a high level perspective, I wanted to emphasize that sort of what's happening with the Rotaract dynamic right now is that they're being given the opportunities to be elevated from being a program in Rotary to a partner of Rotary. So in other words, the sponsor and sponsoree dynamic that we're kind of used to as Rotarians is shifting rapidly to the point where our Rotaractors are now equals in theory to Rotarians. So while the experiences in the different club types is very different and meant to be individualized, they are partners in service, which is really exciting. So what that means is, as Rotarians, we have a unique call to action right now to provide mentorship, guidance, and most importantly, opportunity for our Rotaractors as they try to make that transition, right? Because it's a transition for them, just as it's a transition for Rotary. So what that yields for us is a new opportunity to add value to not only our Rotary Club experience, but also the experience that our Rotaract partners have with Rotary. So, we've already spoken a little bit, but when you bring these two different ideologies together and these two different partnership roles, we allow our clubs to take on new life, right, and reach new audiences that we might not have before we were collaborative with our Rotaract partners. So the last point I wanted to make about why Rotaract specifically is with regards to the Rotary Foundation. So in many districts, Rotaractors are being given access, in partnership with Rotary, of course, to access foundation funding to support large-scale projects. And this is a big deal, right? Because it's the first time that Rotaractors have been given an intentional and focused opportunity to engage with the foundation. A lot of our Rotaractors have truthfully, not really had any experience with it. They haven't donated before, and they weren't really provided with that touch point to get involved. And that is quickly changing, thanks to Rotary International, our zones, and our districts everywhere working on this new concept. But what that means is that they need a stronger partnership with Rotary now more than ever in order for that opportunity to make sense, in order for our Rotaractors to understand the value and the opportunity there in engaging with the Rotary Foundation, which, as we all know, is such a critical part of being a Rotarian. So this next question here in the lower corner, why now? So I've had a lot of discussions with Rotarians over the last couple of weeks, and it is challenging with everything that we're balancing right now. I'm sure that you have had, maybe 10 Zoom meetings today, if not this week at least. And so it can be kind of challenging to add something else to the plate there. But I encourage you, instead of looking towards after COVID to engage more intentionally with Rotaract, I encourage you to try to make that decision right now. And the reason behind that is pretty simple. We now have an opportunity for real-time partnership. So as you all know, going through this COVID situation and everything else that our world is dealing with right now, it really emphasizes a need for real-time partnership. And it really puts value on different skill sets, different perspectives, and different experiences, and needing to bring those together in order to allow true creativity to occur. And this next point that I wanted to make is one of my favorite Rotary quotes: "We are made relevant by the diversity of those we allow to experience the magic of Rotary." So, if we think about the legacy of our clubs, the future of our clubs, but also the present success of our clubs, it really depends on how many people we allow to interact with us, to experience the joy that we find in Rotary, not just to benefit from the service that we do, but to contribute their own talents, their own skill sets and knowledge to make our projects even more effective. And the last point here is that right now you might find yourself with hopefully a little bit more time on your hands to potentially hop on a Zoom call and have coffee virtually with a Rotaractor. So we have a little bit more time now for intentional partnerships and focused relationship development, which is at the core of a successful partnership with Rotaract. So we'll look a little bit more specifically now at what exactly is going on from an elevation standpoint with Rotaract. So I'm sure that many of you rushed home right after the board of director meeting and the council on legislation and read the full meeting minutes. I know that you guys are dedicated Rotarians and went and did that right away. But if not, these are just some high level key points to keep in mind right now. So the first one that happened recently is the removal of the age cap. right? So Rotaract historically has been for young professionals between the ages of 18 and 30. So now, instead of specifying an age parameter, they are just saying young professionals. So what this does is it gives our Rotaractors more flexibility to figure out, okay, so when I do make that transition to Rotary, I feel like I have a little bit more time and a little bit more of an opportunity to be more focused in figuring out what the best fit is for me, from whether it's a Rotary club, a satellite club, or an e-club, right? So many different options. And by removing this age limit, we're giving people a little bit more opportunity to figure that out. So that has been really helpful. The second one is the removal of possible sponsor and sponsoree limitations. So we talked about this a little bit already, but this piece is referring specifically to the point about Rotaractors being able to organize in theory without a designated Rotary partner, right? So historically, Rotaractors had to have a sponsor Rotary club. And while there are many, many things that make this relationship so great, one of the things that we've seen be really successful for Rotaract is access to many types of Rotary clubs, right? So if you have more than one Rotary club engaging with a Rotaract club, a couple of things happen. Well, point number one, not only are you giving Rotarians an opportunity to engage with Rotaract, but you're also allowing Rotaractors to see that the Rotary experience is diverse, and there are so many different ways to get engaged after Rotaract, right? And through this, what we do is we're making an investment in the Rotaractor, and they're more likely to find a model within Rotary that fits for them. So we're more likely to keep them engaged in our family long term. In addition, our Rotaract clubs can work in partnership with Rotary clubs to co-sponsor Interact clubs, which is a very exciting opportunity to continue that pipeline and continue that element of mentorship. In addition, we talked a little bit about this, but in addition to the access to the Rotary Foundation, there's also greater access to zone, international, and district level training. So in other words, our goal here is to train Rotaractors and Rotarians on an equal playing field, you know, while recognizing that there are differences in perspectives and differences in knowledge, but also just providing an opportunity despite those differences for Rotaractors and Rotarians to learn and train and grow as leaders together in the same sort of environment. And this last part is that we are looking at a bit of a due structure shift for Rotaract. So historically, Rotaractors have not had to pay dues, but that is planning to change in July of 2022. And the idea here is that we'll be able to provide more intentional support from Rotary International and from zone levels to help develop Rotaract and track where our Rotaract clubs are. So that's just a little bit of the nitty gritty there on what the Elevate Rotaract movement means. But I did want to summarize just what this means from a higher level. So it's an opportunity to engage more intentionally our Rotaractors in a way that gives them direct access to Rotary and direct access to you all as Rotarians. So the idea here is that the Rotary journey will be strengthened through this, and we will have an opportunity to inspire forever members of the Rotary family. As many of you know, the transition rate from Rotaract to Rotary for many of our Rotaractors has not been very good historically. So this is a real opportunity to intentionally change that, which we couldn't be more excited about. But in addition, as membership chairs, from a membership perspective, it's an opportunity to give your club a new experience, not only to maximize the impact of your service, your networking, and your fellowship, but also to re-engage members of the Rotary community of your different clubs that you work with as a mentor, right? As a partner to Rotaract, they might find new energy or be re-engaged in the dynamics of your club in a way they hadn't been previously. And last part here, you know, it provides another avenue to engage different audience. If we think back to the very beginning when we were talking about our frame of mind for our time here together, one of the key points was about opening doors, right? And creating more channels that are unique and allow us to engage with different audiences that Rotary hasn't been able to before. So the Rotaract is a great way to do that, particularly within this Elevate Rotaract movement. So as we wrap up here, and I'm happy to take questions, I wanted to offer just a couple of concrete things that you can take back to your districts and to your clubs. So when we're looking from a membership standpoint to engage more focused with Rotaract, step number one is, as is most things, is to communicate and follow up and be sure to engage Rotary too. So what this means is that a lot of Rotaract clubs are connected right now to a specific Rotary club partner, right? But that doesn't mean that other Rotarians and other district level leaders don't have access to that club. So reach out to their Rotary club partner and engage them in the opportunity as well. The more the better. The second point is providing an invitation, which is how most of our journeys got started, as well as an opportunity. So one of the things we've seen work really well, for instance, was having the Rotaract club leader serve as a non-voting member of the Rotary Club's board. So again, opening that intentional channel for communication. And the third point here is treating Rotaractors as equally valued partners. And the way that we do that is we ask for their perspective and give value to their ideas. Similar to how we're looking to plug in the newest member of our Rotary Club, the same skill set and strategy can apply for engaging with Rotaract. It's about prioritizing, incorporating, and doing everything that we can to integrate the skill set that they bring to the table with their passion for Rotary and allowing them to be an effective member of our club. And last but certainly not least, keep relationship building at the center. As always, we want to truly and authentically get to know one another from the Rotaractor and the Rotarian side of this partnership. So I want to provide you guys with a quick example and a little bit of a shout out to my district and my Rotary Club. So I'm a newer Rotarian, right? I've only been in Rotary for 4 years, but I had a bit of an idea when COVID first hit that I thought it would be really helpful for our Rotary Club to support some people within my network that work for a local ER here in Richmond. So I just sort of said something offhandedly during a meeting about doing it. And so as you can see in the picture here, we donated a bunch of Gatorade and just some Red Bull, of course, for the caffeine, some granola bars to our local ER to just kind of give them a little bit of support right at the onset of COVID. And one of the things that really surprised me is that despite the fact that I'm a new Rotarian, certainly with less experience in comparison to many of my fellow members, they gave value to my idea and they allowed me to use the network that I had in place working in healthcare and that opportunity and that voice to become a project. And so that, to me as a new Rotarian, that meant a lot. And I think our Rotaractors would have a similar reaction to that. So just as a piece of encouragement as you're thinking about implementing this at home. So I just want to close out here with a couple of quick things to keep in mind about this dynamic and this new evolution of the Rotary and Rotaract partnership. So communicate is always priority number one, right? So having those open and honest dialogues about Rotary and how we can add value to this Elevate Rotaract movement at the district level, the club level, even at the zone and international level to all members of our Rotary family. And then in the center here, I intentionally put adapt in the center because I think this has been key to all things, COVID and beyond, and just making sure that Rotary remains relevant despite any time the world is going through. We have to adapt in order to be able to meet and serve our communities at all times, regardless of circumstances. And this requires teamwork in collaboration with Rotaract, with community partners, even with Interact, to make sure that we're doing our work effectively. And then last but certainly not least is just keeping in mind that Rotary is designed to be a people-centric and individual-centric organization. So this is about empowering our members, including our new Rotaract partners, to use their voice, discover their talents through their time with Rotary, and really leverage those in order to create projects and create sustainable change in our community. All right, so last but certainly not least, just so important to keep in mind that we are the Rotary family and we're in this together. No matter what the world throws at us, as long as we are able to work together as equal partners and to understand that while there are differences and differences in perspectives and ideas between Rotaractors and Rotarians, there is so much opportunity for us to collaborate and do great things together. So for those of you who don't know me quite well just yet, I'm a quote person. This is one of my favorites. So I just want to close out by sharing this with you all. So from Paul Harris himself, the foundation upon which Rotary is built is friendship. On no less firm ground could it have stood. And I chose this one because I think it's from this friendship that we have this unique drive to lift those up around us, including our Rotaractors during this Elevate Rotaract movement in time of transition, to allow more people to experience the magic of Rotary than ever before. So with that, this is my contact information. My email is down here. I'm also happy to share my phone number. I'm really curious just to hear what your districts are doing for this Elevate Rotaract piece and how that's playing into your district membership dynamic. So if there's ever anything I can do for you, ever any questions beyond our time together tonight, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. Thank you guys so much for having me, and I'm happy to take any questions if we have time.
Alex, thank you so much for making time for us tonight. This entire Rotaract movement is extremely important, and particularly important within the membership area of Rotary. You can see all the applause you're getting, even if you can't hear it. I see it on the screens. We do have time for questions, answers, and comments. So unmute yourself if you'd like to.
I have a question, Patrick and Alex. I'm in Mike Walker in 7680, the birthplace of Rotaract, actually, 52 years ago. And it started at UNC Charlotte. And as I understand, most of the Rotaracts and the clubs in the US, maybe 2/3 of them are university-based as opposed to community-based like the rest of the world. And a permanent problem that university-based Rotaract clubs have is turnover every, theoretically, 4 years, that Rotary clubs themselves don't have. How do we deal with that constant turnover issue?
Yeah, that's a great question, and it continues to be an interesting challenge in working with Rotaract. I think the key is that, in addition to always having a plan and trying to plan out as far in advance as we can in terms of who would step into that role in the coming year, the thing that remains consistent from year to year while the officers change is that connection to the Rotary partner. And that's why that part of the relationship is so unique, but also so critical. So, in theory, a lot of our Rotaract clubs, they do kind of die out, or they at least go inactive going through one poor transition, right? And so, if you have a really strong base and a strong connection to the Rotary Club partner, there's more of an opportunity there for the Rotary Club to kind of step in and mediate and help guide the Rotaract leaders to understand, okay, so your term's about to end this coming academic semester. Maybe we appoint someone to kind of shadow you for the next couple of months that has shown a lot of promise and is interested. But a lot of times, we have to keep in mind our Rotaractors aren't always thinking that way, right? We as Rotarians tend to think that way because we have a little bit more experience with doing so. But for Rotaractors, this is a lot of their first leadership experience. And so that transition planning doesn't always come right away. And so with a little bit of guidance and mentorship from Rotary in that area, I think we can mitigate a lot of those challenges.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Alex, this is Geeta from 7620. I was a Rotaract, one of the founding members of my Rotaract club a long time ago. What is the average dues structure here in the United States? How much are Rotaractors paying per year? Because that alone will be a big deterrent for them to join a Rotary club, because now there's no cap. They can stay a Rotaractor forever.
Right, absolutely. Well, it's great to meet another fellow Rotaractor. So I'll start by saying that. But no, you're exactly right. And I would say that in the United States right now, because the official dues mandate from Rotary International does not take effect until 2022. So right now the dues are kind of all over the place for Rotaract. So as you probably know, there are right now no district or international dues for Rotaract. So what that means is that the due structure is entirely up to the club. So a majority of the Rotaract clubs that I work with, their dues fall somewhere between $10 and $20 a quarter in some cases for our community-based clubs. But then for the university-based clubs, a lot of times there will be no dues because our campuses and universities are getting funding from, for example, student government to support the operations of their club. So the dues are pretty low right now, particularly in the United States. The expected due structure, I hope I'm not misspeaking, I will send out a correction if I am, but coming July of 2022, it's expected to be $5 per Rotaractor for the university level, and then $8 per Rotaractor from a community-based club. So hopefully, the idea is that'll be manageable, but kind of help transition the membership a little bit to be more intentional as opposed to just joining and not having any sort of fees.
That's great, because that will allow us as Rotarians to sponsor many Rotaractors to join. I've suggested that for my Rotaract club, I've said, bring in all your kids and pay that. It's less than what you pay for a pizza. Let them become a Rotaractor. So that's what we're doing.
That's great. Have you guys seen success with that?
Well, we are having a virtual meeting tomorrow to make sure that everybody gets that message. We'll see how it works.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you,
Alex.
Nico, you're next, and then Irvin, you're after Nico.
Thank you, Patrick. Alex, always great to see you and hear you. I know we go a few years back. So the question I have, as we continue to elevate Rotaract from a program to a partner, one of the biggest things that the Rotaractors are looking for is the mentorship. And that's one of the biggest secrets for Rotary. There's a wealth of resources and guidance and examples of leadership that we can help everybody. Besides the due structure, what's stopping, or where do you see this evolving to with Rotaract and Rotary as partners? Do you see it at some point that they can all just be part of Rotary and Rotaract goes away? Because I know we're moving more towards a community base, to have a bigger impact in our communities. You know, is it just the financial, the cost for membership? Is that the hindrance? Because I can see right now, like we get requests for, you know, students that just graduated, or the 18, 19, 20, which would qualify as a Rotaractor, but they're looking for that mentorship. And what would be stopping them from actually joining a Rotary club to get involved in the community versus Rotaract? So as we keep promoting this and it keeps growing, it's hard to separate the two. And I think it would be beneficial for you know, anybody 18 and over to actually join a club if it's a good fit for them, or look at a Rotaract that's community based. So just what are your thoughts on that?
Right, absolutely. Well, first of all, I love the background you have going on. That is impressive. Looks very appealing there. So no, it's a great question, and I think it's something that is going to be very region specific and dependent on what the Rotaract culture looks like in that area. But I will share something with you that I was talking about with a brilliant Rotaract friend of mine quite recently. The analogy that I think works really well is that Rotaract in a way is kind of like the minor leagues, right? So you wouldn't ask someone to go straight into the major leagues in most cases, right? Which is Rotary. So Rotaract, it's not just a dues level barrier, it's also a development barrier, right? So when we look at the Rotaract experience, the idea is for the Rotaract leaders to have the opportunity to really understand Rotary and buy into the value proposition and grow their leadership skills that you know, they might be starting at the very bottom level at zero. In terms of what that skill set looks like. And so, you know, while the dues absolutely is a hindrance, it's also more of an opportunity to just develop that skill set before they're ready to take the plunge and join Rotary. You know, and you mentioned at one point there when you were talking the community-based versus just joining a Rotary club. I think it's more about, like we talked about in the beginning, just creating options. So, you know, when I'm talking to a Rotaractor or someone who could be Rotaract age, it's not about forcing them in the box of Rotaract, right? It's about figuring out which option makes the most sense for where they are. Because you're right, there can be a 22-year-old who is 110% ready to join Rotary, but that might not always be the case. So again, it's kind of going back to that individual-centered approach and really looking at where is this person in their life and in their finances and in their development as a leader, and which channel within Rotary, whether it be Rotaract or a full-blown Rotary club, makes the most sense for them. I hope that answers your question.
Thank you, Alex.
Yeah, absolutely.
For years, since 1993, we've had a successful Rotaract club, and our success has been attributed to the stability that we've had with the academic, not the academic, but the advisor to the Rotaract club. That individual has always been a Rotarian and also a faculty member at the university. And so that's helped, especially during the transitional periods. At the beginning of the semester, Christmas vacation time, and at the end of the semester. And so we've been pretty successful with that. Right now is probably the most instability, unstable time because they're all gone. And we tried to transition with a new advisor, but he quit Rotary. And so we're struggling right now. But my question is for Alex is, what will the relationship of the advisor to Rotaract be for Rotaract clubs on college campuses?
Right, with the new Elevate Rotaract idea, that's a great question. And, you know, honestly, I do not expect that dynamic to change because you're exactly right. For the clubs that are going to remain university and that will not be community-based, they do need that connection to the university. Most universities and colleges, as you know, Irvin, they actually require that faculty advisor to be in place before the Rotaract club can be officially recognized on campus as an organization for membership. So I don't expect that part of the dynamic to change, which I think is you know, helpful, because I think in most cases, like you're mentioning, Irvin, when that part works, when that piece of the relationship works, that club thrives, right? So I think, you know, if it's working, we will keep it in place. But if it's not working, you know, in a lot of cases, our university clubs struggle with that dynamic because there isn't a Rotarian on campus who is faculty, right? So then it's kind of challenging because not only do you have to engage the Rotaractor, but you also have to kind of work a little harder to get this faculty advisor excited and to buy into Rotary, which which can take a lot of time and energy, and it depends on, you know, where that faculty advisor is in their life, professionally and personally, of course. So, you know, considering all of those dynamics, we've seen a lot of university-based clubs open up their membership to the community. So it's kind of a hybrid university community-based model. And that seems to work well, especially for clubs who struggle with that faculty advisor dynamic.
One idea to recruit Rotaractors on college campuses during the rush period, just put the big rotary wheel out there, because it'll be the biggest thing and students will be attracted to it. Works every time.
It's a great idea. Thank you, Irvin.
Any other questions before we move on? I don't see any hands. Alex, thank you so much. You bring such an incredible amount of wisdom and experience in this subject, and we appreciate you sharing with us. This is a very important part of what we're doing as district and zone leaders.
Absolutely. Thank you all so much for having me, and thank you for the invitation, Patrick.
Okay, we are going to move on. Sure, I'm not muted here. Going to move on to a bit of an overview of the things that we've covered over the last 5 weeks. I'm not going to simply rehash everything that we've talked about, but I do want to touch on a few key points. Can you see the PowerPoint that I put up? Yep. Okay, great. Talking about the district membership chair position, for those of you who are in that position or are coming into that position, want to reiterate the need to build a team. This is certainly a team sport when it comes to membership, and there is simply too much to do for one person, excuse me, to try to handle all of that. So having a team spread across your district is going to continue to be essential to what you're doing. We've talked about the fact that you need to be intentional with what you're doing. Going into this haphazardly is not going to lead to success. And we've tried to talk over the last almost 2 months now about intentional strategies that you can take that are proven, that are going to lead to success for you. So we hope that you've taken that to heart and will employ most or all of those. Getting directly involved with clubs and communication, those two go hand in hand. The reason I say getting directly involved with clubs is that the communicate, that falls into, yes, you need to communicate in a broad way when you have those opportunities, maybe in a district newsletter, maybe in an email, but communicating directly with club leaders is also going to be important. Whether that's coming from you or a member of your district membership team, that one-on-one conversation is very important. An ask that's made to a broad group washes over the group with no one feeling responsibility to fulfill that. An ask that's made directly, just as most of you as DMCs were asked directly by district governor to fulfill this role, there's a sense of responsibility, a sense of commitment, and a need to follow through. The same is going to be true with your club chairs, your club leadership. So that will continue to be important. In terms of understanding, as you move through the year, we know that attrition is real. It is going to happen. On average for our zone and for almost all of our districts, that 14.1% is a real number. A 100-member club is going to lose 14 members, plus or minus, each year, every year. Focus on an attraction rate of 20%. In all but the situations where there's a very serious attrition issue, that is going to lead to success for a club and membership. Now, some are going to say 20%, how in the world do we do that? Well, it's using those intentional strategies that we've been talking about and creating a culture and a mindset of growth. All very achievable, and each year we see plenty of examples of clubs who take this to heart, who make this job one, and it happens. Want to remind you to remind your clubs, do not get lazy in March and April. As Terry showed us very clearly, we know we're going to lose 1% of our membership in December. We know we're going to lose 2% of our membership in June. And each year we see clubs that are, maybe they're up 4 or 5% in March and April, and they don't realize the slide that is going to occur in that last quarter of the year. So keep the focus on membership through that period. Do not allow people to slack off. We had an entire session in week 2 talking about testimonials from several different districts and their leaders of how various parts of a plan that they had put in place and, more importantly, had implemented had worked well for them. I know you've been working on your district membership plan. Some of you have them basically done. Some of you have a little bit more work to do. But as you round that out, now it will be time to take that to your clubs and to help them work on their plans, because again, they have to be intentional. They have to know where they're going. They have to know how they're going to get there. You've had this experience now. It's an opportunity for you to take it to those clubs. We talked about resources, and you have a lot of resources at your fingertips. To me, these are the big 4 areas. Your Rotary coordinator team, you have me, and you each have an assistant who you have met with, in almost all cases you've met with over the last week or 10 days. We are unpaid. We are just volunteer Rotarians like you who are passionate about membership, who are here to support you. We're not here to tell you exactly what to do, but we are here to support you, and we're here to bring other resources. Audley Knight, who told me he had to drop off the call right around this time, is also a key resource to you. He is our regional membership officer. He is extremely responsive. He is able sometimes to get data that is not readily available with the standard reports we have. He is able to share with you things he's learned across our zone, things he's learned with the other 2 zones that he serves, as well as things he's learned from the other RMOs across North America. So he is a wealth of information, and even though he's only been on the job less than a year, he has come up to speed very quickly. So I encourage you to tap into Audley. You have online resources, and we spent a good bit of time talking about what's available at My Rotary in the way of reporting, as well as some tools. We have DACDB, and particularly Zone 3334 website. And just to remind you, that has been put together. Terry Weaver put that together with an extremely robust search engine where you can go in with just a fragment of what you're looking for in a search, and you're likely to find it. So please take advantage of those resources. The membership lead system will continue, and they are working on that in terms of improvements. We've already seen improvements in the speed of that system. It will continue to get better. But these are leads from people who have taken the time to raise their hand, to go online, to say, I'm interested in Rotary. They are the equivalent of a hot lead, a hot prospect in the for-profit world. So take advantage of those. Have a system to deal with that. As we talked about, when a new lead is available, it's going to be sent to the governor, the membership chair, and the assistant governors. Have a system, know who your point person is to deal with those leads, to make contact and to effectively cultivate those leads. The districts that do that well pick up dozens of members each year. Grow Rotary. We had a whole session on Grow Rotary. We have this new tool at www.growrotary.org. It's an overlay of current membership information and census data that will help you in seeing where prospective Rotarians are, where prospective clubs can be set up. And then the easiest way to grow Rotary in terms of setting up new clubs is through the use of satellite clubs, and even if not formally satellite clubs, alternative meeting clubs. And I say this is the easiest to set up because clubs don't see satellite clubs that they sponsor as competition, as opposed to setting up a new club in a community that sometimes can be viewed as competition. A satellite club is an opportunity to extend our reach, to provide new channels into Rotary. We have many examples of satellite clubs, and almost all of our districts already have at least one satellite club, have some experience. And then to reinforce that, the Innovative Club Advocate Program that Chris Jones talked about is moving ahead reasonably quickly. Each district will have a representative on a zone team of this Innovative Club Advocate Program, and Chris and I are the zone appointed Innovative Club Advocates. We are working closely with Director Stephanie and incoming Director Peter, as well as our counterparts in Zone 34, you're going to be hearing a lot about this. And as I said, there will be a person in your district who is specializing in setting up innovative clubs. That should have a major impact on your efforts with membership, and particularly those of you who are membership chairs. We talked about some of the special challenges, the big two being small clubs, clubs that have gotten sufficiently small that they're not having the impact they could. They typically are being held together by one or two people who, if those people leave, it's the end of the club. It is essential to disrupt the path that those clubs are on. Typically, these clubs that are 15 or fewer, not that long ago, were a club of 25 or 30, and they have just allowed themselves to lose a couple of members each year, and to come down to that point where they could go away quickly. An intervention is going to be required to help those clubs that are just gliding their way toward extinction, and we talked about some of the ways to deal with that. Rotary in a COVID-19 world, and Alex has touched on this, it pervades everything we're doing in Rotary Night right now. This entire training that was meant to be in Charlottesville, Virginia has been done online, and that's the result of the fact that we can't come together very easily. I don't see that easing up in terms of this type of event very soon. I am continuing to receive guidance from Rotary saying to me, with the Rotary coordinator team, we'd really rather you not do anything in person, at least through the end of this calendar year. So we talked about Rotary in a COVID-19 world. This slide has proved to be pretty popular. I think 5 of you have told me you have used it in one way or another just in the last week or so. Feel free to practice R&D, which is, of course, rip off and duplicate. It's what we do well in Rotary. So feel free to use this or any of the other resources that we've provided to you. But this is putting the strategic plan in action, these 4 key pillars of the strategic plan that our own Stephanie Yurchik led the formation of this plan. Feel free to look at this and understand that this is very applicable during our time in dealing with COVID. So wrap up. The communication piece is absolutely essential in leadership. If you don't communicate well, it is almost impossible to lead well. So be aware that communicating in all of its forms, that means when you're at the podium, that means when you're one-on-one with a club leader, when you have the opportunity to address them in writing, take advantage of that, have your intentionality about what you're doing, and take advantage of reinforcing the message on membership. You're not going to just luck your way into a good membership year. The attrition's going to happen. If you do nothing, the attrition will happen. The attraction has to be intentional. The Discover Rotary Hours that we've talked about, this is the #1 proven way to attract members to Rotary. We know that clubs that do this and do it in an appropriate way land 50% plus of those prospects who attend. Many of you are putting this into action, and you know this to be true. And finally, I think Chris Jones is still on the line. If I didn't say hope is not a strategy, he'd be disappointed, because it's absolutely true. You're not going to hope your way into a great year with membership either. You have to put into effect your plan and your strategies. Final thoughts. Rotaract and Rotary relationship. Alex just touched on this. It is a great opportunity for us to increase our impact as a Rotary family. They are our partners. For me, it increases the value of my Rotary membership to have the opportunity to work hand in hand, side by side with Rotaractors. I have that opportunity several times each year. This gray hair that I'm wearing means that it's a great opportunity for me to be inspired by younger members of our Rotary family in the form of Rotaractors. So it's very important to my value proposition. And of course, we're investing in Rotary's future. All of us on this call are invested in Rotary membership. And folks, Rotaractors, they're our farm team, to use the analogy that Alex did. if they see the value of being with Rotarians socially, in service respects, the chance to be mentored and the chance to share what they know that we may not be as good at, that creates value for them and the likelihood that we can improve that conversion rate from Rotaract to Rotary. And finally, district membership summits. We've touched on this. Many of you are in districts where the Rotary coordinator team has come in to assist you or even to fully produce a district membership summit. And in some cases, the team has been in 3 years in a row. We will bring this show to you in person if we can, if not virtually, but all of this can be tailored to your district so that we're helping reach your clubs in a different voice than the voices they typically hear in their districts, and these have proven to be effective. When they're effectively marketed, we see audiences of well over 100, and that's a great reach into your district. Sometimes just having voices from outside your district saying things in a little different way and providing some information that may not be as readily available to clubs can be the tipping point for clubs to get on board. So some of you have contacted me about the possibility of having membership summits. We have one on the books in Pennsylvania in August. We'll see if we're able to do that in person or not. But again, we're volunteers. We're in these positions on the Rotary coordinator team for the sole reason of supporting your efforts and helping you do the best that you can do. So that is it for my little overview there. I'd be happy to receive your comments or your questions while we have just a few minutes left. I see Andy with a golf clap. Very polite. Any questions or comments? Oh,
Hey,
round of applause.
Patrick, it's Nico. I know I shared this in the other breakouts, but I just want to say thank you again for putting it on this way. And I'll echo Stan's comment in totally agreement. You know, having it spaced out over a few weeks, we were able to absorb in the smaller groups a lot more. I feel a lot more than just doing it all at once. So thank you for doing this.
Yeah, and I would say some of us on the RC team have taught. Our conversations have been, this has turned out better than we expected. We really didn't know how this would go. And I think even as presenters, it has been easier to have a focus each week as opposed to, hey, we're about to produce 8 or 10 or 12 hours consecutively where stamina and freshness can be an issue for both the audience and the presenters. So thank you for that feedback. That is valuable.
Patrick, this is Jack.
Hey, Jack.
I just got to tell you, I think I got doing this on these shorter meetings. The retention level is so much easier for us. We're going to hold that stuff in there. Everybody's taking notes. I'm watching. It's phenomenal. I've learned so much in these meetings. Thank you.
Well, great. That seems to be consistent feedback, and we do appreciate that. And of course, we've posted videos, PowerPoints, other collateral material where it will be available to you. So in fact, Terry, over the last several days, has posted a really nice video array at the Zone website where you can see an array of each of the meetings and pick the one that you want to see. It's really, really tastefully done. Let me ask, do you have interest in continuing to do something, say, perhaps monthly, where we could get together and be able to address pertinent topics, maybe sometimes just have a roundtable to share best practices, what's working, what's not? Is that something that would be useful?
Yes, yes.
Absolutely, sure.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll get that planned. It doesn't have to be every single week. And I know those of you who are incoming governors are going to have, lots to worry about, or should not worry about, but lots of leadership opportunities coming up. So we'll certainly understand that you have your hands full. But we'll get a schedule out so that you can block your calendars for that type of thing coming up. Geetha?
Yeah, Patrick, can our district team, because during my year, I'm hoping to have a team. Like you said, I had already reached out to our district membership chair to form a team rather than have one person do this. But if the team wishes to have some input from you, would you be able to do that?
Yeah, that can be done a couple of ways. We can either in this type of meeting have your teams join, or we have the territory set up where you can, in your case, I think it's 4 districts
Yes.
who work with JB, where you can have a territory area, because we do find different areas of the zone can have common challenges that they're working on, or common successes that may not apply 400 miles away in another part of the zone. So we can do that
Okay.
either way.
Thank you. Thank you for a fabulous series. Thank you.
Well, and a lot of this is being directed to me because I'm unmuted, but let me share this with everybody who's a part of putting on these shows, which is the Rotary coordinator team, several other district leaders, Chris Jones, who's on this call. A lot of people have contributed to make this work so well. So you all have my thanks for all of your work to produce that, and all of the rest of you who have attended so faithfully and participated. We appreciate that as well. We're at 5:59. Are there any final thoughts or questions before we call it a wrap?
Yep.
Scanning here. Okay, great. Well, again, thank you all. We will be in touch with you about continuing to get together. And those of you directly involved with membership will be hearing from the Innovative Club Advocate team soon. Chris Jones and I, as I said, are working hard on that. And we have, at this point, I think in total, 18 of 20 team members put together. So that's going to be rolling very soon. Thank you all. I know we won't be together in Hawaii this weekend, but think warm thoughts. And please, please, please be well as we go forward and lead our clubs and our districts. Thank you all.